Though former Hurricane Idalia has moved off the US coast, models seem to signal that it might make a return to North America. Where could Idalia go next, as well as other tropical areas we need to watch, will be coming up. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Nate, and welcome back to another weather forecast discussion, this time for August 31st, 2023. Now, we've got a bit to talk about. This is the first video that this channel has posted after Hurricane Idalia had made landfall, causing significant impacts across portions of the southeastern United States. But even with our small channel of ours, our content got out to about 5 million people, and over 900,000 people actually viewed it. I really gotta thank you all for helping me spread awareness about this storm. And if you would like to continue to help me continue to do this for stuff like hurricanes, tornadoes, and more, continue to stick around. After all, we are only halfway through the hurricane season, and because of that, we transition to what you guys can see on the screen here. We have a lot of storms and a lot of areas to watch. We have Tropical Storm Idalia, which just made its way off the coast and further out into sea. We have Hurricane Franklin, which is northeast of Bermuda. We have Tropical Storm Jose. We have the remnants of Gert. We also have a couple disturbances to watch, one of which is probably going to be a tropical system here very soon. But the good news with all this as of right now is this is all going to be out to sea. It's not really going to be impacting land as of this moment. We could take a look at the satellite imagery to kind of further illustrate this. Here is Idalia, here is Franklin, here's the remnants of Gert, here is Jose, and of course we have our disturbance, which has a pretty high chance of forming over here off of the coast of Africa. Now I want to go through all these storms real quickly just to kind of show you guys that, hey, these storms are going to be off of the coast here at least until the middle of next week. So we start with Idalia. You can see that it still has a pretty expansive wind field here, but it is expected to be an extratropical storm here very soon before it starts to regain its strength here as a true tropical storm once it gets to the weekend, and it'll get closer towards Bermuda before it finally starts to curl off back towards the north. Now, the hurricane hunters did go back out to it, specifically the Air Force, and they found a lot of pretty strong gusty winds off of the coast, some of which were at hurricane force near flight level. And of course, near the surface, winds were at about 65 miles per hour. But once again, you can take a look at the satellite imagery, and this is so broad, this thing doesn't really have an eye anymore. This thing really is not looking as tropical as it once was. We can take a look and see that there is no way, Jose, that this thing is going to survive past Friday. So that's kind of the good news there for this system in the middle. But I do want to kind of point out here the satellite imagery off of the coast of Africa. We have this tropical wave that's going to continue to move on through. That will move further and further out in towards the ocean. But there's a second one. If you guys remember earlier, we talked about how there was a new disturbance that was over here in this yellow. This very same disturbance is currently localized over Africa, and it is going to move off in towards the ocean. And if there was going to be a new tropical system that could try to make a new name for itself in impacting land, it'll be a lot later on next week, but it will be that system. So this will be something to watch out for. But you guys saw that apparently we're not done with Idalia. So how can that be true? Well, towards the middle part of next week, we saw that the cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center said that it will curl all the way back up towards the north. And we could potentially see something that could impact either the northeastern United States or portions of Canada, such as Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. We currently have two ridges that are kind of steering this storm in general. We have a high pressure system over here in the eastern portions of the United States. We also have a high pressure system that is over here near the Lesser Antilles. And what they are doing is they are actually creating counterflow. All right. High pressure systems spin in a clockwise fashion. And so if you see that right here, the flow is currently countering each other and forcing Idalia to kind of sit around Bermuda, which could be a localized flooding threat for folks that are over there. But what's going to happen here as this thing continues to sit, by the time we get towards the end of this weekend and the beginning of next week, we're talking sometime around Sunday, an upper level trough here, at least according to the 200 millibar wind shear, is going to exist here and is going to try and steer Idalia off towards the north. And so that's the reason why it starts to make its turn off north of Bermuda. but then this upper level trough sits over portions of the Delmarva Peninsula and actually tries to force this thing a little bit further towards areas potentially near New England or Nova Scotia. So this is going to be something to watch out for towards the middle of next week into the latter stages of next week. Potentially another landfall from Idalia that could be moving off into this general area. And other models seem to agree here as well. All of these different colored models are each individual type. And you can see that once we get towards the 120-hour range here, past what is this video at least, stuff starts to kind of curl a little bit more towards the north and west. Now, we do have a couple that think it could actually move a bit further out to sea and that upper level trough won't move on through. But the general idea is that, yes, this thing will curl off towards the north. Could it start to curl off towards the north and west? That could be something that we could watch out for in the beginning towards the middle stages of next week. So what does the GFS say? Well, here is Idalia here, and we're talking about the middle stages of next week once again around Wednesday. And this will move on through from Wednesday into Thursday, and we start to see it get really close to comfort somewhere here in the New England Northeast and the Nova Scotia general areas. Potential landfall once again Thursday into Friday before it moves off into Newfoundland and actually move off. But you want to know something interesting? We also have to go back, all right? We talked about the disturbance that's coming off of Africa. This is the other thing that could make a name for itself. There is the new disturbance that is going to be moving on through. We're talking the mid stages of next week. And this disturbance is expected to continue to move through the main development region and potentially try to make some noise over here in the Lesser Antilles. So the Lesser Antilles, sometime in the mid to later stages of next week as well, we could be seeing some tropical development that could move on through. That could potentially move off into the Caribbean. And of course, once we get into that general vicinity, we won't exactly know if it'll move into the Caribbean or move north of that. But just the general idea that tropical activity is still possible, and it is in the near future. So something to kind of note to let you guys know as to what's going on. Now, this is further illustrated here by the EWP, or the empirical wave propagation, which basically tells us where tropical activity could exist. Now, if it's in this kind of orange area, then it's not very favorable. If it's in the green, then it is. And it goes in increments of 5 days. So this is what's happening right now. 5 days from now, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, so on and so forth. And we start to see the green start to move back in towards Central America sometime around the 15th of September. 15th of September is when we start to see some more activity. And then, of course, once we get towards the middle to the latter stages of September, we could potentially see some more activity return and potentially some more tropical systems that could make impacts across the board over there. So just something to note. Tropical activity is not done and over with. We're still at the peak of hurricane season. It's now just trying to identify specific storms and where the impacts could be made. So, of course, if you'd like to see more of that, please be sure to stick around. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on notifications. Share this with friends and family and on social media. Also, follow me on social media. Link will be in the description down below. We will have an upload schedule now. So, now since weather is not supposed to be as active, or we're not getting as much significant weather that is ongoing, we're going to have an upload schedule. It'll be every Saturday, every Monday, and every Wednesday until significant weather is supposed to return. So with that being said, I will catch you guys Saturday. Peace out, everyone. Stay safe.